Hey guys, welcome to a recap of the Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion part 3. Guys, we finally made it. We finally made it. And tell me why I'm left with more questions than answers. This reunion, I was mostly anticipating the men because I feel like, okay, with the men, we're going to get some more information. Let's close up the ends of these rumors. Let's get to the bottom of it. But once again, I felt like we were bamboozled. We were hoodwinked because I got nothing from this episode. Was this even necessary? We are left. We're pretty much so much unresolved, so much issues that are pressing. I'm like, the biggest question in my mind is what is this next season gonna look like? What is this next season gonna look like? How are the cast gonna act moving forward after the Teresa versus Melissa feud? Okay, because it doesn't even seem like a feud between Teresa and her brother, but more between Teresa and Melissa. So let's get into this episode. Let's get into this recap. So the episode opens up with the men coming onto the main stage, ready for their time to shine. So, of course, you know, Andy Cohen, he is so concerned with himself and whether or not he should get Botox or not. And I'm like, sir, you need to focus. This reunion, we need answers. This reunion has not performed above a 7 for me for him to be so relaxed about it. Come on. So let's get to focusing Andy Cohen. But Teresa did agree that he does need Botox. So I don't know in the future if we'll see a new and improved Andy Cohen. I mean, I think he looks great. I think he looks great for this age. I wouldn't say he needs Botox. So that's one for Teresa and one for me saying no to Botox. Do you guys think that Andy Cohen needs Botox? See, this is the discussion. This is what we're focusing on in this, recap. But anyways, we get to see all the men be welcomed by Andy Cohen. Frankie got some new teeth, y'all. Frankie teeth said bling, 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 bling. It was so shining and white. Shiny white. Like it was super, super, super bright. Was it giving chiclets or was it giving horse teeth? I feel like it's teetering on chiclets. It's kind of teetering that fine line where it's kind of unnatural looking, but he wanted to get it done and he wanted to match with Polly since Polly has a new bright teeth. Frank got some bright teeth. So that was an update from him. Um Joe B, which is Marge's husband. I always call him just Joe and I always figure out who they talk about when they say Joe. So Joe is happy that his wife Marge Risk is finally healed so he doesn't have to, take care of her. He is so nurturing, such a good husband. He's more of a supporter. Like he's there for every need that Marge has. She has a good guy with him. We get an update from Nate. Nate, he said he enjoyed his first season. I felt like Nate, took a seat back in this season. He, usually I'm used to, the husbands of New Jersey really participating in filming the Real Housewives of New Jersey. They really know how to steal the show. I feel like Nate, he's still warming up, he's still getting his foot wet, but his family overall, they're hilarious, they're funny. So I feel like Valentina should have had her moment in the reunion. I think they should have had a cute little chair for Valentina to show up to, address some things that she needs to address. Because apparently she got more stuff going on than these ladies that got going on, okay? So then we get to see Polly. Polly showed up. I think it's fantastic that he shows up for Dolores. Because usually you think, you take some time before you have your man come to do a reunion. But no, ASAP, we saw him and he showed up to the show just like that. He's here at the reunion and he has our girls back. We also see Louis. Louis, he's mellow and chill. We have the Zen Louis at this moment. And we get to hear from Joey. Joey, he opens up and says that he's a little bit heavy hearted coming into this situation. And that's similar to what Teresa is feeling too as well. They share the same blood, they feel the same, similar emotions about this moment. And y'all, it honestly should have been a sit down between Joe and Teresa. Brother and sister, resolving brother and sister situation, rivalry, or whatever it is. Those two needed to sit down just themselves before involving other people into the mix. Because I feel like it at the end of the day, it roots between them. It's between those two. So next we get to hear from John Fuda. And John Fuda, he lets us know that he has done lipo. I feel like, I don't know, I don't notice, I didn't pay attention to what he looked like before, but he said he got work done and whatever makes him happy, do that. But I thought that was interesting. It's interesting to see guys talk about getting cosmetic surgeries. It surely is a change. And I just wonder, this cast is so interesting. I'm telling you, the husbands in this cast, they are so comfortable with the camera open. I just wonder why, because we don't get that from other franchises. The guys are usually, they take the back seat and let the wives showcase and run with the show. But these guys, New Jersey, the husbands is what carries the show aside from Valentina. Okay. So, guys, let's get into this. So, Louis, he addresses Pajama Gate. Now, Louis said he misspoke. It came out poorly. He, of course, did not wear Joe or Teresa's father's actual pajamas that he actually wore. What had happened was Teresa found pajamas that wasn't sent to her dad, that was meant for her dad, but wasn't sent to her dad, and he hasn't worn it. And so, since he couldn't wear it, unfortunately, anymore, Louis, he says he'll wear it, as a sentimental gesture. And that's what he meant. And it just still came off kind of weird. Everyone is listening to him, how he's wording the situation. And it's just, I don't know, it's still weird. But Joe, he feels like, he can't really take what comes out of Louis' mouth for anything. He can't give it much weight because there's so much of a credibility issue. And what I think it is, it's a lot of misunderstandings. A lot of misunderstandings. And one misunderstanding is being used against another. And I feel like it's just, I think they all just need to take a step back, and moving forward, they need to have a clean slate. They can't hold on to grudges because I feel like it's what's killing them. It's like they're holding on to grudges. They're throwing this rumor, this truth, that truth. And we don't know. We don't know how to move forward because we're being held by so much trash. And they do need this space. So now Joey, he wants to see Teresa happy. He wants to support whatever relationship she's in. It's just that he just feels that, Louis is playing a big role to why they are not getting along. Because when Teresa was released from jail, Joey felt like he had a great relationship with his sister. They were talking, they were hanging out. But Teresa, she would say that actually the opposite. She said the reason why they hanged out after her coming home from jail is that they were filming, so by chance they were hanging out. And also she goes on to state that she doesn't really get invited by Joey and Melissa to go hang out, and that they prefer to hang out with couples. And then you have Melissa. She's like, no, 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 that's not true. That's not true. And, Teresa feels super passionate about not being included or feeling wanted by her brother and her sister-in-law. But at this point, she does not care about what Melissa got to say. Melissa, I feel like you have to like take a step back and just let Teresa deal with her brother, because I feel like at least if she was to deal with her brother, she will naturally come to accept Melissa. So when Melissa interjects and tells Teresa, that that's not true, Teresa pretty much shut down Melissa, say, I don't even want to talk to you. I don't even want to address you. This is the final moment that I'm having a conversation with my brother. And it's so sad because I could kind of see that point. Like, you are so mad at the person, it's done, but you want to settle it with your blood. You want to settle it with your family to really get the final words in with no outside parties interjecting. So it really goes to show you how much deep to the end they are with each other. Like they're sick of it and they want to pretty much close that chapter. And it's sad. You know, even Louis, he suggests to Melissa to just let the two deal with it. I feel like the strategy coming into this, as Teresa, she mentioned, she's like, she wants to close the chapter, but it's opposite to what Melissa's strategy is, because her strategy is she wants the truth to be known. But obviously, they're not agreeing to a truth, and there's no merit in fighting where we can't even get to in agreement on. Okay, if we can't agree on a simple truth, there's gonna be no point of going back and forth. If anything, they need to close the chapter and take the space, and if they want to choose to revisit some sort of relationship, that they should have a clean slate and letting everything go. Like everything go. Everyone is right. Everyone is wrong. That's what they got to do at this point. Because I don't see how it's moving in any other way. Because honestly, I think they're both in the wrong. If you really think about it, they're really both in the wrong. A lot of miscommunication, a lot of holding grudges. It's like y'all both wrong. And I feel like that should be the solution, is where they both, you know, see where just acknowledge that they can both be wrong and they can both be right, and there's no point with family to go head to head with each other, because now it's going to impact, the kids are growing up, it's going to impact the friend dynamic, which obviously it is the friend group. So yeah, they need to cut the losses here. Okay, so Joe, we get a segment now. We get to see Joe B talk about his new life with a 3-year old in his home. And I have to remind you that, Marge, she took in her friend who's going through a divorce, who has a small 3-year old. So she's being a good friend, being supportive, offering a place to stay. So this is changing their dynamic in the household, because, it was just those two. And now they have a young toddler that's bringing new energy into the home. I feel like in this season, we got to see a little bit of that from Marge, but aside from that, she didn't contribute much to the season, aside from this bickering between Danielle and Jennifer Aiden. So yeah, I feel like, it was a small segment for Joe B to talk about, but that's really a reflection to what went on with Marge and her season. Okay, so now we get to hear a little bit from Nate, and similar to Nate, they talk about how Nate wasn't hazed this season, and I felt like that's all we could have talked about Nate, because I feel like, when it's just so short like that, it's also a reflection onto the housewife, because Nate was not really much involved in too much situations, since he's with Danielle, and Danielle took the side of Jennifer and Teresa. That kind of left, Nate out on the skirts with Frank, with Joey, with Joe B, and John Fuda. So I feel like, since there was a division between the friend group already, Nate, we didn't get to hear much about what's going on in his life with his family and his household. So he had quite not much to say. And it's, I feel like they brought him out of courtesy too, because he didn't contribute much, really. I feel like uh, Jen Fessler had much more to say, and she's just a friend of, okay? So, yeah, so now we actually get into the Real House Husbands of New Jersey, okay? And what we get to first tackle is Frank addressing that Dolores is just his best friend, and there's no sexual context, no sexual relationship that's lingering there. He makes this clear because everyone, the viewers, we all commenting on their dynamic and how odd it is. And I'm glad he mentioned that, because it's kind of weird, because he's with Brittany and Dolores is with Polly. So I can understand Polly coming into this dynamic. He can be a little bit confused to what the situation is. Is this like a, what you call it, like a cult or something like that? So, Frank, he makes very clear Dolores is his best friend. And I feel like Dolores, she made that boundary quite clear. I do not see any romantic scenarios between Frank and Dolores. Dolores is done, okay? We get that. It's very clear. No matter how much Joey wants to poke fun at it, no matter how much fun Melissa pokes at it, no matter how much the other people in this cast say, I truly see Frank and Dolores as just friends. And they have a great co parenting relationship. They get along with each other's partners. And I think it's beautiful. And you can see that from the reflection of the kids and how they act and how they view their mother and father. So no, there's nothing going on with Frank and Dolores or anything that's like, any loose ends that are still there. We also get an update on how Frank and Brittany have finally closed on a house. Because remember, in the previous episode, we just found out that, Frank is still living with Dolores's ex, the doctor. And in that place, Brittany's there too. So it's like, wow, what's going on? What's the dynamic? But I'm so happy that instead of having to address if he has to pay rent or anything there, which it doesn't seem like he is, because he said, I built the home. But everyone was saying just because you built the home doesn't mean you could live in a home. And so it was great for him. Perfect timing to say that, I closed on a home, so y'all can drop that, y'all can let that go. And that he has to break the news to I forgot his name, Dolores' ex, pretty much. He's not important because he's not marrying Dolores. Okay, so we're moving on. So Frank and Brittany close on a home and they are ready to move on and start a new chapter. So him and Polly are at a great place, which is also a good update to hear. And I'm glad because at first it was becoming a moment where it seemed like it was going to become a rift between the dynamic between Dolores and Frank because of Polly, but it seems like they're working things out. Now, we did get to hear over Bill, and Bill had a short segment just like Nate and Joe B, but he's a little bit different because we did see him go through therapy. We did see him, talk to his wife about serious issues. So we did get more involved with him. So he had a little bit more of a plot, but he didn't talk that much. So pretty much what he mentioned is that, his line of profession is not really suitable for having a great family life. And that's good that he can admit that and recognize that and say that in such a big platform, because you don't want to be a parent and live with regrets of not feeling like if you're doing what you're doing is right, if it's what you're doing is okay. But he feels like he is doing his best to provide for his family, his wife, his kids, and he wants to make, them happy. No one wants to fail at what they do. So he's doing the best he can, okay? He's trying to find balance. And what we also get from him is that he's also eased up on Jen in terms of how she's raising the kids. He's being less harsh. So that's good to hear a positive update from him. And, I look forward to see more from Bill. But, that was all pretty much what he brought to the table. So next season, I wonder what they're going to talk about next. But I was and I am looking forward to seeing the cast go to Turkey to see more of Jen's culture, because she did mention in this season that, oh, we should do a trip to Turkey so I can show you. And when Jen says she's gonna show you, she's gonna show. So I know I'm ready to see all that. So I'm really hoping we get that next season from them. And that, Bill goes. I think it'll be great. It'll be great. That'll be superb, actually. So next we have Polly, and he says that, and we learned this. Oh my God. Polly said something that I was questioning. It gave me more questions than answers. So Polly said that, Dolores doesn't want to get married yet. I'm Did you watch this season? I did not get that vibes at all from Miss Dolores. Dolores is like a woman that's ought to be married. She doesn't want to be walking around with someone that she calls a boyfriend. She wants a husband. That is what I was gathering. Wasn't that what we were talking between this season and the season before that? What do you mean that Dolores does not want to get married right away? No rushing? I was so confused. Like I said, this was more questions than answer. Polly, he still wants to get married. He wants to get married to Dolores though. But I'm like, how are we gonna do that? Because he has to, get divorced by his ex. And this conversation was a little bit interesting for me because if you guys studied the body language, he was checking in on Dolores to pretty much get a read of her body language on whether or not what he was saying was okay or the right way to present it. Did y'all notice that? Did y'all notice that? Let me know in the comments down below because we not stupid. We see everything. I know we see everything. We see each other, y'all. Because Andy Cohen asks how is Polly's relation? How is your relationship with your ex? And he said, well, she's an ex. And then he was talking, and then he was looking at Dolores, and he's like, is that okay? Is that right? And then Dolores responds, yeah, but I'm like, damn, Dolores, don't skip you. Dolores don't play over here, okay? I caught that. And I was like, okay. I thought it was a good response, Polly. I don't think you were in trouble after this. So Dolores is actually the first woman that Polly introduced to his kids. And he's been separated for 14 years. So you know this is a big and serious deal for him. So I have no questions in doubt that these two are going to get married, or they're at least looking like they're heading towards that. So that's a good sign for Dolores. So I don't know if next season we're gonna get that. Cause to me, I think what's gonna happen next season for Dolores is that we're gonna hear about the ex more. Maybe we'll see the ex. I am curious. I would want to see. I'm a little nosy. I want to see Dolores. Don't be mad at me, but I want to see. So moving on, we then get to address Frankie Jr. working with Louis situation drama. So apparently Louis didn't tell Frankie Jr. that the business was closing down, and we have Joe trying to get the conversation going, but Dolores put a stop to it. Dolores said, thank you, Louis, for giving my son the opportunity to work with you. We appreciate it. And that's it. Moving on. No more talking about it. She shut that down. She said, we're not doing that. We're not doing that with my kids. And I like that. And Joe is trying to say, but you're trying to cover. He's trying to get it to be talked about. But she says since her son and Louis are on good terms still, she appreciated the opportunity, and that is that, and she wants to leave it like that. And I'm like, y'all, if I'm afraid of anybody having an arsenal, it's Dolores. Dolores is the real gangster in this show, okay? Not Danielle. No, 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 Danielle, you lied to us. Not Jennifer Hayden. No. Not Marsh. Not Rachel Fuda. Definitely not Melissa nor Teresa. It is Dolores, which is why she's in the center. You don't see why she's in the center here? Giving us center fantasy. Okay, Dolores, I see you, girl. So anyway, Joey, he's like kind of upset that he's putting the Dolores put the stop to that conversation, and Frank was like, I'm not bringing it up. She said it's like that, so it's law pretty much. So then we have John Fuda. He interjects, y'all, and he asks why Louis and Teresa had him investigated, and the mother of his child, you know, reached out to. What was the reason? And John Fuda, he looked mad, and I don't know. I'm just meeting John Fuda, and I'm a little nervous. I don't know how he gets when he's mad, so I'm observing. So we have the whole conversation about Bodito. We've been talking about him the whole reunion, so let's talk about him, okay? So Bodito is a private investigator, and apparently he reached out to no. So Bodito is the private investigator. And then apparently, in the network of private investigators, John Fuda got word that someone was trying to look into his background and his baby mother's background. Pretty much tried to make contact with her. And the thing is that it sounds pretty much credible to me that something of that along those lines happened, because like he said, everything is traced, everything is tracked. When you call an inmate, it cannot just happen that if you did or you didn't, there's a record of it. So yeah, I feel like we see Louis caught red-handed in this situation, but he's not fessing up, and he's like deflecting. So Louis has to address now what he said in the final, because he's saying Louis saying that he didn't have people investigated, but in the finale he said that he has a file on everybody. He said that he misspoke, but Andy checked him and said, "But you said that the next day. So did you misspoke the next day?" And I feel like he's caught in another lie. So I'm like, I mean, Maybe to me, my theory is that he doesn't like the term investigated. Maybe what he did is just he's just gather information. Try to hear what's the word on the street. It's all the same thing. All the housewives do it. Get the word on the street, Giselle. Pretty much get when bone have a bone carrier give you information. Atlanta. I mean, this is not nothing new. Like, information lands on his lap, and he just happened to just know about it. So I think for Louis, it's coming down to specifics, because I do feel like he did get information on these people, but he doesn't want to say he did a whole investigation seemed like a whole big deal, big to do. So it could be that they're fighting against small words, but I don't know why. What's the issue? I mean, if you're gonna be around those people, do you want to know who you're around? Maybe. But the thing is that it seems like Louis is a little bit sketchy. He's giving me sketchy vibes, and I don't like that for Teresa, because Teresa, she did her time. She's out. We just want her to just relax, have a good time, good vibes. Namaste, namaste, namaste. So it does look a little bit fishy in this situation, and I'm not even gonna lie. It looked really, really, really fishy. So Andy says that, production got word to him to say that there's security downstairs for Louis and Teresa. And what we learn is that, Louis and Teresa have been receiving a high volume of death threats. And to me, that is wild. Why? What's sending these death threats? Why someone's gonna do that? What for? What for? These are just people on television, y'all. It's never that serious. It was never serious, okay? So this shocks the whole cast, and this makes the cast feel like this is all Louis dealing and doing. Because before, out of all the times they have been filming, they said they have never received a threat of such high level, which I doubt. I feel like, there's passionate fans, there's passionate people who are invested into these people's lives. So I don't know if this you could make that call and say, oh, that they never receive such threats. They could be some scary moments, but I don't think you could just put it all on Louis. If anything, it's on the people who want to put these threats. So we get word that the person that Louis is investigating is a person who's been talking to a person on the cast and threatening Teresa and Louis, which we learn is Margaret. So Margaret is in communication with this woman that, Louis has been investigating. So y'all, I have more questions. Who is this woman? Is this an ex? Is this who is she? Like, damn. Like, she really, like, this person really have sent Louis on this Bo Dido, whole situation, because what's going on? Like, and we're not getting any answers, y'all. So I'm like, how is next season gonna look? Because now they're throwing at rumors at each other, saying, oh, they're doing a smear campaign. Oh, Joe has $1 million in fines on his building. Oh, are you familiar with Rulala? What the hell is going on? Like, if you guys are throwing rumors, please come with receipts. I don't need this throwing, like, this information, and we're not getting, like, any solid backing of it being true, because people are just throwing out the words. If anything, I feel like if Alexia from Real Housewives of Miami was on this cast, she would be like, this is defamation. No, who would say that it's defamation? No, it wouldn't be Alexia. This would, no. Oh, she would say slander, slander, slander. Oh, that would have been a funny meme. But yeah, these people, is this not defamation? This is not slander. What is this? And I'm trying to figure out what is true, what the hell is going on, what are we watching? And this is the third part of the reunion. No, this is not a third part. This is like not even the first part. We're not even in it. Like, we are not getting any resolution to this. So, you guys, they talk about Pizzagate. I feel like nothing more was revealed in Pizzagate that we already didn't know as a viewer. Andy Cohen, why are you doing this to us? And Andy Cohen sitting there like we haven't heard Louis' side, but I feel like we heard this information, like we got this information already, probably from the Watch What Happens Live, but I felt like we were not getting like anything more to the situation. So Louis gets to speak on it. So Louis said he wrote a check for $110,000. Oh, let that be me one day. Let me be able to write $110,000 check. Okay. What would I do with that money? I don't know, but that's in my future too. Hopefully in you guys' futures too as well. So Joe, he came up with the idea, and then Louis, he gave the money, he wrote the check and gave it to the nephew. Now, this was for the prepaying of ovens. And what happened was then we had Melissa interjecting, and Teresa's like, no, you were not involved, so do not speak. And Teresa was right. I think that's valid. That's valid. If you weren't part of the deal, you can't speak. Let the two people who were involved speak. Okay. Order in the court. And then we see that there was a miscommunication. What they failed to do is because Joe and Melissa are claiming that Louis stole the idea and X'd them out of the deal. But the thing is that everything was under Teresa's name. Money funded Louis to for Teresa. There was nothing that was demonstrating that Joey wanted a stake in this too as well. There was no contract where they could go over, read the terms, and know and understand what are each other's roles in this whole situation, in this whole plan that they could refer to. Instead, they're taking word, oh, we'll do this, you do this, and then days go by, weeks go by, and what? If people forget, at least you have a contract that you can refer. So it's just terrible for me to see two people get into business with each other, given that they have family issues already. They are not the best communicators. So why are we getting business together? What is the reason? Was that smart? No. No, 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 no. I didn't need John Fuder to explain that to us. I felt like that was not necessary. He was being shady, trying to say, "Oh, can I finish?" Because he doesn't really like Teresa, because Louis investigated him and his family. So we didn't need John Fuder to explain that. I understand that very clearly. We are not dumb as viewers, okay? We are the investigators, if anything, okay? So at the end of this, at the end of the day, they needed a contract before they even move forward, made any kind of step, any kind of money transfer. They needed a contract. So Louis addresses Dina and her husband business deal, and it's like the people are not there to speak. We're taking Louis' word for it. Do we really want to hear this? I don't. I don't. So apparently it's another lie, it's another rumor, but we will never know because Dina and her husband are not on the show. So how will we know? Okay? We won't know. So next we have Joey responding to Teresa, thinking that Melissa and him had a role in sending her to jail. And this is based on Jacqueline Loretta. Jacqueline Loretta, can we say less? They did a whole montage, but we didn't need to see that. We know that, Jacqueline Loretta, can we trust? If you can, how can you take what Louis say as not valid, but you want to even question like Jacqueline, like why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we doing this to ourselves? So Frank, thank you, Frank. Frank, he said he was the attorney representing Joey because before he was disbarred, he was an attorney, and so he spoke on this and said that Joey was requested to go and talk about Joe Judice, but he never showed up and he would have never said a word to damage Teresa and Joe Judice. And Teresa is listening, but she doesn't feel like she doesn't take that into consideration. She said that her brother broke her heart. She said that in Italian. She said it's very nicely in Italian. I can't say it in Italian. I'm sorry, I'm not Italian. But she says pretty much her brother broke her heart. And Joe has a little bit of a moment and talks to his sister. And I understand because I have a brother. So I understand when the brother's trying to talk to the sister. He talks to her and says to her pretty much that he wouldn't do anything to hurt her, and that if she was sick, if she was in an accident, that he will be right there for her, okay? The issue with him is that he wishes that she picked a normal person. He feels like Louis is not normal. Louis is unstable. And I mean, you can't tell people who to love, so you got to stay out of that. And you don't want her to say that about Melissa, so you can't do that. So you know Teresa's going to step up and defend her man. Like, you can't talk crazy about her man and think she's not going to say anything. So she brings up his past. And then I'm like, oh, they going at it again. They discussing about family making money. Who's making money off of who? You making money off of me? It's like, it seems like it's like crabs in a barrel. It's like, what's the reason? What's wrong with the family making money together? It's like, it's wild to me, but I can understand it if there's no foundation of trust, good communication, good partnership. Come on. Doesn't take a genius to do that. So we learned that Joe does not regret going to the wedding. And I feel like you don't have to throw salt in Teresa's wounds. I mean, you could have kept that to yourself. I would have said a more politically correct answer. His politically correct answer should have been that it's not that I regret or do not regret going to my sister's wedding. It's just I wish that things were in better circumstances, that we could come together in a joyous occasion. I could not set aside my differences to support my sister, and I didn't feel it was right for me to be there in such a sacred moment. Bam! That's how you do it, y'all. He could have just said that. They should have called me. So, anywho, because he doesn't regret going to the wedding because of Pizzagate and the whole rumor about Melissa and everything around that. So that was the reason why he didn't go, and he feels justified for not going. So Luis, all pretty much the reason why he called Joey and not Melissa is that he just wanted to just talk to Joey, guy to guy, and say that he wanted him to get ahead of it. But Joe felt like Louis was throwing some salt in the wounds and throwing out rumors that he felt like was not true about his wife. So we get to hear Gia. I thought Gia should have been a part of this reunion. Teresa needed Gia in this reunion because Teresa was not doing justice to her case. Okay, so we get to hear Gia, and Gia says that she called her brother. She called her uncle to let him know to do the right thing and to walk Teresa down the aisle. And she's pretty much disappointed in her uncle. So Teresa gets emotional because she hurt her baby. Her baby is defending her. And she reflects on to how her and Joe used to be best friends, and she started tearing up. She gets out and she storms out that room, out to the backstage. And Danielle is like, guys, get along. Danielle's trying to keep her spot. She has to get some scenes, okay? So Teresa storms out. She's backstage with Louie and Andy, and they said something interesting, and it could have been another misunderstanding. So Louis was talking to Gia, trying to understand, like, how can things been misunderstood? What did you say exactly? And then we have Gia. He says that Gia could have possibly said that, oh, that you could do better for mom, not that you could have done better than Melissa. So which I think I buy it. I buy it. I think they have a lot of misunderstandings, and they run with stuff so quickly because one is trying to be better than the other. So I can believe this is true. So they go back, and Andy, he apologizes to Teresa as they're heading back to the main stage. And Andy is tired. I am tired. We have not got any answers, Andy. Andy, no. No, this reunion. Oh my god. So Dolores pretty much says to everybody before they get into the room. So Dolores is like, guys, no more 2 cents. Let's wrap it up. Okay, Dolores, she's the main woman in charge of this season, okay, in this show, okay? So Joe says that he never says never, and that he will always love his sister, and he will always be there for his sister. Teresa wants to be honored now while she's alive, okay? Don't wait for her to be in a situation for you to come running to recognize her. So obviously nothing's gonna get resolved tonight, but they do agree that they have to give each other space. Okay, so I was at least hopeful for that. We get space. Space is good. Space is not a bad thing, y'all. So Louis goes and shakes hand with Frank and Joe to kind of put a piece to this. Louis then also goes to Rachel and says how much of a good mother she is. And then he goes to talk to John Fuda. John Fuda is not having it. John Fuda is not having it. He's not letting this slide like that. He wants, if Louis wants to be friends with John Fuda, he has to admit to what he has done. Otherwise, he is not interested, not entertaining it, y'all. So it's not over. It's clearly gonna be a thing next season if they're gonna be a part of the whole situation. So the guys they leave, and then we have the ladies, and the ladies wrap it up. Okay, let's wrap it up because I've been here talking for like 40 minutes. If you're still with me here, please put a heart down in the comments down below. I would love that. I would appreciate that. I would live for that. So Dolores has her moment, our lady, our leading lady. She feels that Teresa and Joey need some time apart and that they need space, which is like, she's right. She's been saying that actually for quite some time. Danielle, she is seeing her brother tomorrow after the filming of the reunion. And she's actually afraid because of this experience here. So she's afraid how she's going to proceed moving forward. Now, Jen, she is exhausted, and girl, I am too. She's exhausted and she wants to have fun and get along with the girls. She's actually through with the drama, which I think is a good sentiment to have and to get things rolling because y'all, only have kind of have fun in Ireland, but y'all could have had more fun. Like, let's have fun filming, y'all. Let's get this money and have fun, not stress out. No way. So Marge, on that sentiment, she says she wants to move forward with Jen. She wants to like move things along, and she has no negative energy towards Danielle. And Danielle feels the same way too as well. And then Rachel and Danielle, they agree that they are forgetting about the nonsense that they're going back and forth. Now with Teresa and Melissa, y'all. Andy, he takes note that, these two have been coexisting. But Teresa says she is closing the door. She is done. Melissa, she feels that she could feel the hate towards from Teresa to her, and that she's pretty much gonna go with the flow. So whatever Teresa's on, she's on that too. So the best part of this is when they end and wrapped with Irish whiskey and pizza. I wonder if that pizza looked good. It didn't have much toppings, but I wonder if it was good. I needed pizza. I should get some pizza too. So, guys, that was the season of Real Housewives of New Jersey. Honestly, the reason I'm gonna keep watching this because I want to see what happens after this. What's gonna happen following this? How are these ladies going to move? Who's gonna make it to the next season? Are we gonna get more new housewives? What's gonna happen with Melissa? I heard like Melissa was fired. She took off the housewives from her Instagram bio. So we are waiting and observing and seeing the situation. But yeah, this is definitely not over. As I said, we left with more questions than answers. So we'll stay tuned, and I look forward to recapping the next season. So, guys, I not only recap the Real Housewives of New Jersey, I am now recapping the Real Housewives of Orange County. So, check it out on my page, and lots of love to you guys. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate every one of you for tuning in and following me on this journey. You have no idea how much I appreciate every one of you. And as always, share as much kindness as possible. Bye, guys.